Hi everyone. This week for the discussion board, we were tasked with finding the informed consent online from either an agency or an individual private counselor and comparing it with the recommendations from the American Counseling Association. I found an informed consent form from a licensed professional counselor named Linda Braze. She is based out of Austin, Texas, and I will say from first standpoint, when my first reactions to the consent was that it was very detailed. Her informed consent that I found online was actually 3 pages, and it gave a lot of detailed information, and the informed consent also even included a copy for the client so that it could go through. The first thing I noticed right off the back was that she gave her training and background information and described her credentials and her experience for what she's done as a licensed professional counselor. And then she had a whole section on confidentiality. She talked about when confidentiality can be broken, and how your information can be shared with a third person. And she even talked about when you sign a consent for her to speak with another agency when you do it. She talked about her therapeutic relationship, and in that, she talked about the boundaries that she had to have with the client, and basically not extending that relationship outside of the client counselor sessions. She talked about her approach to counseling and the type of techniques and therapies that she would use in the process. And then she had a whole section on fees, and she just talked about billing the insurance. She talked about when the fee is due. And one thing that I saw in here, she talked about that this fees must be paid at the beginning of the session because she did not want to disrupt the therapeutic process at the end by having to take a payment at the end of a session because it can mess up the momentum and mess up everything that had been experienced during that counseling session. She also talked about rules and guidelines of the session. So she talked about expectations for herself as well as expectations for the client. She even has something in there that says she expects a client to honor the time and be on time for appointments, but vice versa. If she is late to the appointment, she would either extend the session or either she would prorate the fee for that. And so I thought that was really great that she talked about the importance. She also talked about outside contacts and what to do in the event of an emergency if she couldn't be reached, and provided a backup phone number in the event that there was an emergency for the client. Overall, I felt that she covered a lot of the things that were required for the recommendations for the American Counseling Association. And then I went and I looked for my state of Virginia to see what their recommendations were for an informed consent for a licensed professional counselor. And then I found that for the Virginia, they recommended that you have to represent your education and training experience to the clients and your informed consent. You also have to document the need for and steps taken to terminate the counseling relationship. And that was one thing that I did not see in the informed consent for Linda Bree. She didn't talk about when that could be terminated. She informed in the Virginia Code of Ethics, they also talk about informing clients of goals and techniques and the procedures and the limitations and potential risk and benefits of the services that are going to be performed in the session. You also have to talk about the limitations of confidentiality, and you also have to provide information on accurate billing and do a breakdown of your fees and what that's going to cost. Thanks, and have a great week.